In this video, we're going to discuss making stunning wedding films with your Fujifilm X-T3. Let's go. Now, that short snippet that you just watched was the last wedding film that Chloe and I filmed together, and we used several things to make that. There are several ways to get great wedding films. For example, you can use a gimbal. You can also use a handheld rig. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to get cinematic, stunning quality right out of your Fujifilm X-T3 using the Eterna film simulation with a few minor tweaks. Let's just jump straight into it and then I'll explain why I use it and the logic behind it. So you want to get your Fujifilm X-T3 and we're just going to jump straight into video settings. So you're going to be on page 1. Now the first thing that you'll see is H.265. You want to be using this for 10-bit color. Really good, really easy, really works well for color grading. Then we'll move down and make sure that you're in Eterna film simulation. You can leave your white balance on auto and I'll explain why in a minute, but this is subject to change depending on what you're shooting. Dynamic range, I will put this at 200%. Now, the reason why you want to put this at 200% is through a little technique that Fujifilm implements into their cameras. This is called digital amplification. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into what this means scientifically. There's loads of videos on YouTube which explain this in great detail, but I'm just going to give you a very layman's terms of how and why this works. Essentially, it works like this. Let's say you're going to put your dynamic range at 400% to maximize your dynamic range. Now, what this is going to do is put your ISO at 640. That's going to be your minimum ISO. And it's going to shoot for the highlights at the base ISO, which is going to be around 160. For me, this is pretty good, but it can sometimes make the skin tones a bit too weird, maybe a bit too strong. And plus, sometimes you don't even have an ND filter with you, and this is meant to be a really simple setting that you can implement for most of the films that you make, even this YouTube talking head video right now. So what I like to do is put it at 200%. My base ISO is now going to be about 320 and it's going to expose for the highlights around 160. So that way I get a nice balance, good dynamic range, and my ISO is not going to be too high. So even if I'm not using an ND filter, things are okay. Things are alright, mate. Next up, we want to get our highlight tone and bring it all the way down to -2. Shadows all the way down to -2. Next up, color. I'm just going to bring that down by 1. Eterna is already quite flat and you can always boost the saturation in post and that way you have more flexibility. Sharpness all the way down to -4. Fujifilm, naturally, their images are just super hyper sharp in video. So bringing it down to -4, it looks way more cinematic. Add a bit of film grain on top, then you can boost the sharpening slightly. Looks really sexy. Noise reduction, this is computer generated noise reduction, so I like to leave it around -1. And essentially, that's it. This is what I use for pretty much majority of my videos, not even just weddings. So you could take this and leave it in your camera settings, so whenever you switch to video, it just works and everything looks beautiful. Corporate talking head interviews, wedding films, everything just looks stunning. Dynamic range is pretty damn good. Now, I'm going to explain why I use this and then I'm going to show you the full result of an actual wedding film that I shot fully entirely. When I shoot weddings or events, I'm always doing photography simultaneously. Now, I know a lot of you might be like, bloody hell, brother, why? Don't worry, uncle, there's method behind the madness and I'm going to explain why and the logic behind it. So I shoot photo and video simultaneously, as I mentioned already, and what that allows me to do is to stay handheld and retain good dynamic range and good quality. So I'm shooting my photos, then when I switch to video, my settings allow me to reach somewhat to what F-Log would probably give me in terms of results. Like I said, my dynamic range has been boosted. I'm shooting in Eterna, which I was going to grade in anyway. So this gives me the best of both worlds. I can shoot photos with ease and then switch to video with a click of a button. And I'm getting really good dynamic range, cinematic quality, handheld. And if I put it on a gimbal or a rig, the settings are already in place. You just gotta shoot and the quality is... Now I understand that the X-T4 is out and you can implement a lot whilst you're shooting. There's no need to put a massive rig, put an external monitor to apply a lot while shooting. What is going on? Can you please reveal to me why you insist on doing this? I'll explain why. Through my experience using F-Log and using auto white balance, I find that with skin tones, the color shift is really outrageous. It's really weird. I only use F-Log if I'm in an environment which is static and it's not going to change throughout the project. Sometimes when you're shooting weddings, you kind of have to go on auto white balance because you're going from in and out of a venue or you're running around, you don't have time to quickly adjust your white balance. So this allows me to stay flexible, stay nimble, and not have to think about my settings too much. That's why I use it. This is a personal choice. Like I said, I'm not bashing F-Log. This is not meant to be that. This is meant to be something for people who are looking for a really simple setting to keep on their camera when they switch to video, and there's not much headache, not much hassle. Now, I'm going to play the full wedding video for you so you can see the full project in its entirety and you can understand why I use these settings. So, what did you think? How did it look? What's your opinion on this? Leave a comment down below. So we're just gonna quickly go over why I use these settings and who it's helpful for. People that shoot photo and video simultaneously, good color science, ease of use, good dynamic range, and anything which is event-based and spontaneous. This will be really easy for you to implement when you're grading. So, I hope you liked this video, and if you have any questions or anything you want me to touch upon in the future regarding Fujifilm videos, street photography, this is the channel for you, so you might as well hit subscribe and hit the bell for bloody more notifications. Also, due to the current circumstances, I am selling prints from just as little as £2 for a print. Check it out, I'm using Pixieset down below in the comments, check them out. They basically have a warehouse where they do printing and dispatch the photos for me on my behalf, and I get a cut from it. So it helps me out, it saves me having to leave my house in these awkward times. So if you want to help out the channel, that would be a great way, because I don't really use much in affiliate links. I'm not part of the Amazon team. So yeah, catch you in the next video. Much love, take care.